When the Mongol horsemen appeared on the horizon, a cold dread fell over the land. They were not just an army, they were a force of nature, a storm of dust and steel sweeping out from the vast, unforgiving steppes of Central Asia. Their approach was heralded by whispers and rumors, tales so horrifying that honestly many refused to believe them until the thundering of hooves became deafening. To the settled civilizations of Persia, China, and Europe, these warriors were an unimaginable terror. They seemed to come from nowhere, a ghost-like horde that moved with terrifying speed and precision, leaving only silence and ruin in their wake. The world had never seen anything like them, and it was utterly unprepared for the devastation they would bring. At the heart of this maelstrom was one man, Genghis Khan. Born with the name Temujin into a world of brutal tribal warfare, he endured a childhood of hardship, betrayal, and slavery. These experiences did not break him. They forged him into a leader of unparalleled cunning and resolve. He understood the raw, primal power of fear better than anyone before him. He knew that a sword could kill a man, but terror could conquer an entire city without a single arrow being fired. His name alone would eventually become a weapon, a word synonymous with absolute destruction, whispered in fear from the shores of the Pacific Ocean to the gates of Vienna. This was his legacy, built not just on military might, but on a masterful understanding of human psychology. Genghis Khan's strategy was brutally simple and terrifyingly effective. When his army approached a city, he would first send envoys with a clear and unambiguous message: surrender or face total annihilation. The terms were stark. If a city opened its gates, its people would be spared, its artisans and engineers put to work for the Mongol Empire, and its rulers incorporated into the new order. The alternative was a vision of hell on earth. If a single arrow was fired in resistance, if the city chose to fight, then every man, woman, and child was condemned to death. There was no negotiation, no middle ground, only submission or oblivion. This ultimatum was not a bluff. Early in his campaigns, he established a horrifying precedent. Cities that resisted were not just conquered, they were systematically dismantled and their populations exterminated. Survivors, if any were intentionally left, were sent to neighboring cities to spread the word of what they had witnessed. They became living advertisements for the consequences of defiance. The psychological impact of this strategy cannot be overstated. City leaders were placed in an impossible position. To fight meant to condemn their entire population to a gruesome end. As tales of the massacres at cities like Termez and Urgench spread, however, the calculus began to change. Fear became the Khan's most powerful ally. The fate of those who defied Genghis Khan was a lesson written in blood for all to see. The city of Nishapur, in modern-day Iran, stands as one of the most chilling examples of Mongol retribution. After the city revolted and killed Genghis Khan's son-in-law, the Khan's grief turned into a cold, methodical fury. He reportedly ordered that the city not only be destroyed, but that no living thing, not even the cats and dogs, be left alive. At Termez, a city on the Amu Darya River, the population was driven out onto a plain and systematically executed. Each Mongol soldier was assigned a quota of people to kill. The skulls of the men, women, and children were allegedly piled into great pyramids as a gruesome monument to their defiance, a silent warning to any who might consider a similar path. The psychological warfare extended beyond mass executions. The Mongols were masters of cruel invention, devising new ways to instill terror. In some sieges, they would catapult the diseased corpses of their enemies over city walls. They would set fields ablaze, destroy irrigation systems, and turn fertile farmlands into barren deserts, ensuring that even if some people survived, their civilization would not. This campaign of terror reached its devastating peak with the sack of Baghdad in 1258, carried out by Genghis Khan's grandson, Hulagu. Baghdad was the heart of the Islamic world, a global center of learning, culture, and science. The great libraries, containing countless priceless manuscripts on science, medicine, and philosophy, were thrown into the Tigris River. Chroniclers of the time wrote that the river ran black with the ink of the books and then red with the blood of the slaughtered scholars. Genghis Khan's genius was not limited to the battlefield. He was also a master nation-builder who forged a weapon 1,000 times more potent than any single army: a unified Mongol people. Before him, the steppe was home to a collection of tribes trapped in a cycle of petty warfare. Temujin shattered this old world. He broke up the traditional tribal structures, forcing people to identify not by their clan but as Mongols loyal to him alone. He organized his army and his society into a decimal system, units of 10, 100, and 1,000, where promotion was based on merit and loyalty, not on noble birth. This created a new, unbreakable bond that superseded ancient rivalries. Loyalty to the Khan was absolute, and he cultivated it with both reward and punishment. For those who served him well, the rewards were immense. A common soldier could rise to become a general, commanding thousands and accumulating vast wealth. He shared the spoils of war generously, ensuring they had a personal stake in the empire's success. However, the flip side of reward was a swift and merciless justice. The Yasa, Genghis Khan's secret code of laws, prescribed death for a wide range of offenses including cowardice, desertion, and theft. If one soldier in a unit of 10 retreated from battle without orders, the entire unit was executed. This brutal discipline forged an army that did not know how to retreat. The fear of their own commander was often greater than their fear of the enemy. His followers saw him as a figure sent by the eternal blue sky, a demigod destined to rule the world. They followed him with a fanatical devotion, ready to conquer or die at his command. While Genghis Khan's name is synonymous with brutality, his rule was marked by a startling paradox. The man who ordered the destruction of entire civilizations was also a visionary innovator who laid the groundwork for a more connected world. Once a territory was conquered and the initial wave of terror had passed, Mongol rule was often surprisingly pragmatic and tolerant. He understood that a vast empire could not be governed by the sword alone. Instead of imposing Mongol beliefs on his new subjects, he practiced a remarkable degree of religious tolerance. Christians, Muslims, and Buddhists were all free to worship as they pleased, as long as they prayed for the Khan and obeyed his laws. One of his most significant innovations was the creation of the Yam, a sophisticated and highly efficient communication and supply network. This system was essentially a medieval pony express with a series of relay stations established across the empire. Riders could travel at incredible speeds, swapping for fresh horses at each station, allowing messages and intelligence to cross vast distances in a matter of days. He created the Pax Mongolica, or Mongol Peace, a period of stability across the vast territories under his control. He protected trade routes like the Silk Road, making them secure for merchants and travelers. He standardized weights and measures, introduced the concept of a paper currency, and lowered taxes on merchants to encourage commerce. A person could reportedly travel from one end of the empire to the other with a gold nugget on their head without fear of being robbed. This newfound security fostered an unprecedented exchange of goods, ideas, technologies, and cultures between Europe and Asia. Ultimately, Genghis Khan remains one of history's most complex and terrifying figures. He was a destroyer of worlds on a scale that is difficult to fathom, using calculated terror to conquer his enemies and erase those who defied him. Yet he was also a unifier, a lawgiver, and a pragmatic administrator who built an empire that connected the globe. His legacy is one of blood and ashes, but also of law, trade, and communication. It is this unique combination of ruthless savagery, brilliant military strategy, and visionary state-building that makes him not just another conqueror, but arguably the most formidable and fearsome ruler history has ever known.